The Switch 2 literally has to be one of the most controversial consoles I've seen in a long time. I mean, half of the fan base loves this thing, and then the other half of the fan base thinks it's literally the worst thing that Nintendo has ever done. It's like so split. And if you look at 95% of content creators on the Nintendo platform side of things, literally they're all negative about this console. What's up with the Nintendo Directs? Why is there no content? Why are the games so underwhelming? It's so negative. How can people be negative about the Switch 2? That's so freaking weird. Don't worry, it's my video. Relax. Look, I'm no stranger when it comes to just hating on the Switch 2. Like, I genuinely had my hopes so high for this thing, and then it just came crashing down after Mario Kart and Donkey Kong. I mean, the games are coming out. There's games to play. Don't get me wrong. Don't play that one. But there's just like this thing where I'm like, everybody just sees IP, and the first thing people say is, how in the world could you think 2017 was better than this stacked lineup of all these games? Because they didn't have freaking Mario! Jokes aside, yes, I am crazy about 3D Mario. I love me some Mario. I mean, 99% of the channel was built on Mario from the very beginning. And Octo Expansion. But literally, we all know. I mean, we all know the alien on freaking Neptune knows how much I am excited for this next 3D Mario game, but that's not even the issue right now. The main issue is just the lineup itself. I talked about this enough, so I'm not going to dabble too far into this topic, but at the end of the day, the lineup on paper for 2025 looked freaking amazing. I mean, a new Mario Kart after almost 11 years, Metroid Prime 4, a 3D Donkey Kong since Donkey Kong 64, a new Pokemon Legends, Hyrule Warriors coming back for the third time, and then of course Kirby Air Riders returning from the GameCube. I mean, that's a stacked lineup, right? Right? Like I said, I've talked about this before, but it seemed like Nintendo had this quota to have a game every single month for the first like 7 months of Switch 2, which is cool. Having a game every month is awesome, but then we start looking at the quality of those games and it's just like, we finally get a new Mario Kart, but it's $80, and it's plagued with straight intermissions, and there's hardly any content outside of basic races online. There's like no extra modes, and it's $80. Bonanza was peak. This was like the cream of the crop for the Switch 2, and still is to this day, like 8 months later. This is the game that you buy the Switch 2 for, and literally I can't say the same with really any other game in their lineup. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but me personally and a lot of other people that I've talked to, Metroid Prime 4 just was not it. As somebody that's a huge fan of the trilogy, this was not a Metroid Prime game to me. I don't know what the heck I was playing half the time. It's not terrible, but it's also not great. I wouldn't even say it's good. It's just eh. It came, it went, no one's really talking about it ever again, and when you hear about the horrible development cycle that went through, it explains a lot. Not to mention, Metroid Prime 4 is a game that you can play on old hardware. Yep, the Switch 1. I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, but I gave ZA a try and actually beat the entire game. But overall, it was an okay experience. It wasn't anything special, and the fans seem like they hate this game. They seem like they hate everything Pokemon. Wait, was Scarlet and Violet that bad? But also, a game you can play on Switch 1. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment was another Hyrule Warriors game, but this time with Kino. Who the freak is Kino? And don't get me started on Kirby Air Riders. Actually, I don't have much to say. There was a lot of content in that game. Good job, Sakurai. So with an already just okay first 6 months, you look at this next 6 months and it's just like, ooh, boy, what are we doing? I mean, Yoshi, Splatoon, and Fire Emblem might be really, really good, but we don't have any information about those 3 games. For some reason, Tomodachi Life isn't on this list that I pulled up, but you have 3 sim games, with Animal Crossing New Horizons getting a free update, Pokemon, Pokopia, and of course, Tomodachi Life. And personally, I am not a Sims Life fan. I'm not a fan of those type of games. It's just not my thing. And to have 3 of them in the span of like 4 months is freaking insane. But Pokopia is Pokemon, and it feels like Animal Crossing / Minecraft, so I'm sure people are going to have a blast with this game. And Tomodachi Life sold so extremely well in the 3DS, I'm sure it's going to do really well here. But for a lot of people, this just isn't enough. And our biggest games so far have pretty much just been Mario Tennis Fever and a Switch 2 edition of a 2D Mario game that came out 3 years ago. Which reminds me, how are we only like 9 months into this console and we already have over like 10 Switch 2 editions? What is going on? It just seems like Nintendo's big exciting reveals now are just games that we played when we were younger, or sometimes a year ago in many cases. It feels like the Wii U ports back on the Switch, but even worse because now it's Switch 1 ports on the Switch 2. Which once again, this is the first year of Switch 2 and we're already getting so many ports. For the first time in years, maybe even ever, I think I can say Nintendo's third-party lineup looks better than their first party, which is not Nintendo. No. And look, I'm Nintendo Land. I get it. I love Nintendo games, but it's not all I play. Trust me, even though some of you believe that. What's wrong with you? Since 2024, I think I've been playing more PlayStation games than any Switch or Switch 2 games combined. I probably played Shadow of the Colossus like 100 times. This is literally one of my favorite games of all time. So I even decided to dive into my backlog because I've always wanted to play the Ratchet & Clank game. So guess what I did? I went out and bought Ratchet & Clank 1, Ratchet & Clank 2, Ratchet & Clank 3, Ratchet & Clank 4, Ratchet & Clank 16. Sony has these things called State of Plays, which is like their versions of Nintendo Directs, and they've always been absolutely hot poop garbage, but I've actually decided to finally tune in and watch one, and goodness gracious, it was good. Like, really good. There's like 5, 6, 7 games I'm actually looking forward to. Now you might say so many of these third parties that PlayStation talked about are coming to Switch 2. Like Pragmata is a game I'm really looking forward to, but that's also coming to Switch 2. But the problem is, I'd much rather play my third party games on my PS5. I'm sorry, they run better, it's just a fact. However, let me be clear, I'm not downplaying how good some of these third-party games seem to run on Switch 2. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks like it runs great. Even Pragmata looks pretty good, but I'm still just going to choose the PS5 over preference. I just rather have that extra oomph of power over portability. That's just me. But you don't go out and buy a $450 Nintendo console for third-party games. I hope not. Please don't do that. Since the beginning of time, you buy Nintendo consoles to play their awesome Nintendo games, and their games just aren't awesome right now. Don't get me wrong, I don't think most of the Switch 2 lineup right now is bad. Most of the Switch 2 lineup. But for year one of a new console, it's really not banging either. Because yes, they have decent titles. I mean, I don't think any of the titles are under a 7, but so many of them are around a 7 for me. And everyone, for some reason this generation, are so quick to come to Nintendo's defense. I'm like, why are you upset that people want more content and more effort put into these $70 and $80 video games? People don't praise and have tons of nostalgia for Nintendo's 2017 first year of Nintendo Switch because there were a bunch of games, a game every month. Look at all these games. No, that wasn't it. It was because it had fewer games, but more expansive, more entertaining, and higher quality games. Splatoon 2, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Xenoblade 2, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild do not give me crap for that being a Wii U game. So I'll be honest, personally, I have tons of other stuff to play on my other consoles, and I have a huge backlog. In fact, I'll even show you it right here. Warning, these are not all the games Nintendo Land wants to play. He wants to play a lot of others. These are just games that he has been thinking about recently, and also some of the games on this list he has in digital collection, but not as a physical copy. Nintendo Land has and still plays games that are outside of 3D Mario and the Nintendo Sphere. If you have any other games to recommend to Nintendo Land, please place them down below. Thank you. But it's when it comes to excitement for Nintendo. I think my entire life I've been excited for something coming out from Nintendo. I mean, even in 2020, I was excited for the heavily rumored Mario 3D All-Stars, which actually came out. But still, even then, I've been more excited than I am right now. I am not excited really about anything Nintendo has to show or anything that Nintendo's been doing recently. And I know we shouldn't primarily live off of hype of what's to come, but we've always been like this with Nintendo. I mean, that's what it's like to be a Nintendo fan. Now, I wanted to save this last YouTube video and thumbnail for a reason. In fact, this is the video that inspired me to make this one today. This is Wood from Beat 'em Up, and I'm sure you heard of him. He's literally the biggest Nintendo content creator on the platform, and he's pretty much posted a video talking about how he's essentially bored with the Switch 2 and that there's not a lot to talk about in the content space of things. Of course, the second he posts this video, here comes the Nintendo soldiers. And almost every single comment and quote tweet say the exact same thing. Oh, you've turned into a grifter now. One of my favorite channels is now a grifter. How dare you? What is this rage bait? You're just a baby. What are you talking about? There's so much to play. And it's just constant stream of hate. Which is strange because why do we live in this world where people can't have opinions? Like, if you like the Nintendo Switch 2, great, have fun. I'm hoping you're having a blast. Like, I wish I could like it as much as you do. I have no problem with people that love their Switch 2s. But if you're somebody like me who's felt a little underwhelmed with it, why is that not okay? But one of Wood's big things that's getting him under fire with what he said in his video was pretty much the content creation side of things is the worst for him, where he just doesn't know what to talk about, and he doesn't really have any topics to talk about on his videos, just because there's nothing to talk about. And of course, you're gonna see those comments, Nintendo's not your employer, they're not supposed to give you stuff to feed your family, go get a real job, flip patties, you nerd. But as hard as it is to believe, a lot of us actually chose this route because it's a passion of ours. I mean, yes, getting paid and doing this full time is a blessing from the Lord. I am so blessed to be able to do this for a living. But at the same time, I love talking about Nintendo and talking about what's to come and speculating and looking at the future and talking about big titles. But you can't do that if Nintendo's not doing anything. One of the comments that I get the most is, what happened to your old content? I miss when you actually talked about video games rather than Nintendo news. I wish. I love talking about big Nintendo games. It's the reason I created a channel. Some of my biggest videos are from the biggest games Nintendo had on the Switch 1. Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Maker 2, Luigi's Mansion 3, every Kirby game ever, Splatoon 2, Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I mean, I could go on and on and on. These were the big things that people wanted to see, and I made tons of content for those games. But if you're wondering why I've been talking about news and speculation since 2024, it's because since 2024, there hasn't been a major title that's generated interest. 2023 was like the last year where I felt like I was truly able to dig deep in content. We talked about Tears of the Kingdom alone for maybe half the entire year, plus Pikmin 4 information was dropping like crazy, and then we had Mario Wonder, a brand new 2D Mario game that finally broke out of the new moniker. It was an awesome year for news, for content, and I was back to my usual style of talking about details that you missed, locations you missed, boss rankings, area rankings, tons of details about the game, predictions. It was just top of my content. And content creators aside, let's talk about the people watching the content, because a lot of people out there, including you guys right now, are telling me every day that you're missing this stuff. And if you're missing this stuff, don't blame the content creators, blame the company that decides to start their brand new year of Switch 2 with a partner direct and also have a Nintendo Treehouse presentation dedicated to Pokemon Pokopia and a 3-year-old 2D Mario game. And a lot of us content creators tried really hard to put out a lot of content for Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, tons of unique content in different ways and different styles, but it just wasn't viewing as well as past bigger titles for Nintendo has. Maybe it's because Mario Kart World was received as a bad game, and because of the intermissions, a lot of people weren't happy with it, so lots of the content of Mario Kart World actually turned to be nothing but negative stuff. And for Donkey Kong Bonanza, the excitement was all there in the beginning and for like the first week or so, but after that, it just completely dropped off and people moved on looking for what's next. And it's funny, people tell me, why would Nintendo announce like the big holiday game right now, or 3D Mario, or whatever it's going to be, or games coming in the second half of this year? It's way too early for that. It's because Nintendo has done that already. I mean, besides anything new, let's just talk about the stuff that we know of so far. I would have loved to get some information on Splatoon Raiders, a game that was announced in the summer of 2025. That doesn't sound like Nintendo likes waiting now to reveal games. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave could benefit big right now with some new information about the game and just release dates. I mean, it was revealed back in the last Direct in September of 2025, but here we are almost in March and still not a clue when these games are releasing. And odds are it's not going to be until probably after the halfway mark of the year, because considering the fact we know every game coming out until like early May. Once again, Nintendo revealing games well in advance before their actual release dates are announced. For crying out loud, Rhythm Heaven Groove is one of my most anticipated games with Splatoon Raiders, and this game was announced at the beginning of 2025, March to be exact. So no, there's no reason Nintendo can't announce or at least tease the schedule for the rest of the year already. Most of the time, Nintendo's big holiday game comes out in September or October, so that gives us about a 7 to 8 month period to get some marketing, some hype, and some excitement in the community. And every game that I just mentioned is getting close to that 7 to 8 month window since it was announced, and we don't even have release dates for any of them yet. The Switch 2 is selling like hotcakes right now, and in fact, I think that's the exact reason Nintendo's acting the way that they are, is because there's no pressure. They're like, dang, Mario Kart World is going to be the one to just sell so many copies, we can just sit on our hands and do nothing forever until this game stops selling. And what's so weird about this is if this was the norm, I'd completely understand. But Nintendo does not operate like this. They almost always had directs when they were supposed to. One in February, one around the June time, and if they didn't, you would still guarantee to have one in September. And every single year, there was some sort of juggernaut game announced to get people excited for. 2018 was not the best follow-up year after their stellar 2017. I don't think it needed to be. When you start your new console with a 3D Mario, an open world Zelda, a new Splatoon, and Xenoblade 2, there's not much else you need to do for year 2. But even with that, Nintendo knew their year 2 wasn't as powerful, so what did they do? The very beginning of the year, they say, hey, a brand new Smash Brothers is coming at the very end of the year. That's all they needed to do, a simple little announcement trailer that hardly showed anything, but it fueled speculation until the next big presentation, and it carried speculation for the rest of the year and excitement. Everybody was happy, everybody couldn't stop thinking about all the characters that could be in this next Smash Brothers game, what is it going to look like, who's going to be in it, and Nintendo would do this every single year. There was always something big and interesting to look forward to, interesting to talk about. Mario Maker 2 was shown off in advance, Luigi's Mansion 3 was teased in advance, just to give us stuff to look forward to and to talk about. No, Nintendo doesn't owe content creators to have stuff to talk about. That's up to us to figure out individually and work around. But at the same time, when you're in people's comment sections saying, what happened to your old content and why do all Nintendo content creators now just talk about news? This is why. But then you get the comments of people saying that you need to change your content to these things that you never even made your channel for in the first place. For instance, yes, I do rankings all the time and I have done pretty much every ranking video you can imagine with every IP from Nintendo. And then you hear people say, hey, until Nintendo does something, maybe you should do retrospectives. And I'm like, that's never been what I wanted to do. Yes, I've talked about older games before, and I can still find new ways of making different styles of content, and I will. That's the thing. I will not just stop, cry, and give up. Yes, I will complain. I'm good at complaining, but at the same time, I will also come up with unique ideas over and over again. I will never personally run out of content. It just might not be the style of content that you're expecting me to shift to. I like talking about news because it gets me hype about potential things that could be coming from Nintendo. It keeps me engaged in Nintendo. But what people don't understand is me just shifting my channel to retrospectives only now would immediately change the algorithm for my channel. I mean, immediately it will not perform well. There are already channels out there that do retrospectives and have been doing retrospectives, and that era for Nintendo is kind of over anyways. Yes, there's still channels out there doing really well with that type of stuff, but it's just not as popular as it used to be. Same with ranking videos. People are really just interested in what's new and what's hot. When there's a new game, they love hearing tons of cool new information about it, or speculation about that cool new upcoming game for the holiday season. It's seriously my favorite stuff to talk about. That's the reason I created my channel, was just off of hype from Super Mario Odyssey alone. I was so excited about that game and just wanted to talk about Mario Odyssey for days, and the only way to do that was to create a YouTube channel. And lots of my creative ideas and videos come from a new game, something that I can create those ideas from. So do I think the Switch 2 is a bad console? No. But do I think it's a boring console right now? Yes. This is one of the few times that I think ever where I genuinely don't have any interest talking about anything right now. And yes, all of this can change by simply Nintendo coming out tomorrow and saying, hey, there's a big general Nintendo Direct coming at the first week of March. But will that happen? I don't know. So yeah, I just think Nintendo desperately needs to get out some information and at least convey what's going on with the games that they already announced, and also announce some new stuff. Right, Kirby? He said no. It's just Nintendo fans are wanting that excitement back. You know, going by Zelda's 40th anniversary without even giving us a tweet. I know their celebration doesn't really start until the summertime, but they could have at least said something, given us something, did something, but it just seems like Nintendo's doing the absolute bare minimum. It's just Switch 2 edition here, port there, announcement of old game over here, and with every title coming out being like a 7 out of 10 for a lot of people, their Nintendo Directs being skipped and just having partner showcases instead, game key card situations, extreme prices for games like Mario Tennis at $70, and even threatening of price hikes for the Switch 2 soon, Nintendo really needs a win right now, something that can just shut us all up in the entire community. Or something like, I don't know, that one guy, oh, what's his name? Mario?